28 species of habitat animals in 22 different enclosures, and 5 exhibit species. Join me for a tour around the finished African village of our Desert Adventure Park. During the tour, we'll see not only the enclosures and animals, but also all the backstage areas that are usually not available to our guests. I really hope you guys will enjoy the tour, as building this section took me so much time. Hello guys, this is Cesar Creates, and welcome back to my channel. The African section of the Desert Adventure Park is officially finished, and as I promised you, today we'll have a final tour of the whole section, so I hope you are all excited. We'll see a lot of African animals, we'll see a lot of African themed enclosures, and we'll also go through some, or maybe all, of the backstage areas that I've created for this section of the zoo. But before that, I thought that I will remind you how the entrance looks. We are standing here in front of the entrance to our zoo, the Desert Adventure Park. As you guys can see, it is a huge, very modern glass building. You could see it in one of my previous tours of the zoo, but also, of course, in the video that is so old, where we were actually building this. I am still very proud of this building. I think it looks phenomenal. It is, of course, inspired by the Dubai Safari Park and their entrance. This whole zoo is inspired by it. It was inspired by it by the beginning, but after I just sort of changed my mind and started to build enclosures just as I thought, and I had my ideas. I wasn't trying to do the actual recreation as I did at the beginning. So in here you can actually buy the tickets to our zoo. So if you go here to those lovely ladies, we can see the ticket board. Yeah, this is something that we will build in the future. We still don't have the safari, but yeah. Also in this video, I want to share with you guys my plans for this series, for the future enclosures and so on. So this will be at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Okay, if you have our ticket, we can enter our park, and in here this guy will check our ticket if everything is fine. In here we actually have a souvenir shop that we created so long ago. Of course, we didn't have the souvenir shops that we have right now in Planet Zoo with all those props and so on. My idea was that the guests will be just exiting the zoo through the souvenir shop and going out. But yeah, this is something that I created using a lot of different pieces that were at the time available at the in the game, but also some blueprints. So yeah, this is how the gift shop looks. But if you go through the entrance, here are some fun things. For example, this photo opportunity thing that I did using the blueprint, not the blueprint, but how is it called? The billboard. Yeah, so this is the billboard. Quite fun, I would say. This is also very highly inspired by the zoo. I visited this zoo a long time ago, and this is something that I took photos of and I remember and so on. This is the guest service. Here you can book like your private tours or I don't know, some additional experiences. In the zoo there is actually like a bird cage, a big bird cage in here, but unfortunately we don't have flying birds in Planet Zoo. That's why I decided to add their capuchin monkeys, and I think that it actually looks really cool with them. There's so many of them in here. I need to take care of breeding in the zoo because it is still on. The animals can breed, so that's why sometimes there's a lot of them. Okay, if we'll continue here, as you guys can see, here are some decorations. Here are some plants. I'm utilizing the fact that there is so much like natural light in here that the plants can grow. Here's like a backstage area for the workers. Here we have the toilets for our guests. And yeah, here's a sign, let the adventure begin, because through those doors you actually enter the park, and you cannot really see that because it's very empty in here, but in there is our African section. Of course, by the end of the video, I'll tell you what are my plans for all of this in here. Ignore the blueprints that are in here, but also what I wanted to show you is that in here we also have a small restaurant. And it is very Capuchin themed because here is another viewing opportunity for the Capuchin monkeys. If you've watched the previous tour of the zoo, you probably know this all. But yeah, here's the Capuchin monkey enclosure, a lot of different climbing frames for them. There's a little waterfall that is back there, and yeah, I think that they are really enjoying it. Okay, but let's move over and let's go to our African section. Right now we are just in front of our African section, and what I also wanted to tell you is that some of those enclosures are quite old, but unlike in the Elm Hill Zoo, in here I don't want to rebuild any of the enclosures. I think that the oldest one that is in here that you can see at the flamingo habitat is not that bad, is still okay. I added some details, like newer details that we didn't have in the game while I was building it. For example, the buffalo grass and some decals, but this still looks really cool. I really like those small islands that we created for them. I will pause the game from time to time because it is a bit laggy. So yeah, this time in this zoo I won't do any rebuilds, but just to let you know that some of the habitats that you will see later during the trip, the tour will be so much better than the one that we can see, for example, right now. So in the Dubai Safari Park, they actually have in here two separate enclosures. Those are also separate, but they all house flamingos. And in Dubai, I think that in one they have flamingos, and in the second one they have some other water birds, just as flamingos, ibis, and stuff like this. But unfortunately, we don't have them in Planet Zoo. Maybe they will still be added. I don't know. If not, maybe in the future I will add some mods. For some more variety, but other than that, I really like those two enclosures. And yeah, this is still the part of the zoo that was really highly inspired by Dubai Safari Park, as well as the entrance to the African village. Every village in the zoo will have the dedicated entrance, just as this one. But what I also wanted to show you is that we could actually take a different routes in here towards the gate, and in here there's like this side viewing gallery for the Nyalas. And actually there's a very cool view right now because you can see the back of the bongo enclosure, so you can have this really cool vista for two different species in here. Of course they are not connected, they cannot go to each other, but this is so cool. The Nyala enclosure is very lush. I wanted to give them a lot of shade and a lot of also places that they can hide. They are a bit more shy, so yeah, why not do it? A lot of enclosures in here have used this kind of fence, but also use the moats. So here we have the moat for this enclosure, some enrichment items as you guys can see, and yeah, this is how it looks. Let's just pause the game for a second. By the way, the second part of this enclosure, of this entrance, we can actually go there, why not, is dedicated to staff. So here we have all the the necessary staff buildings, like the vets, like the keeper hut, and so on. And this is how it looks. And of course, a lot of plants because I just love them. Okay, so if you go back here, we will continue there through the actual gate of the African section, so that we can see the whole African village. I'm still forgetting that I'm actually calling them villages. Okay, this is something again inspired by the zoo. So those are those like chill rooms. Of course, it is super hot outside, and in here there's like a heavy air conditioning, and you can go inside here and just rest from the heat. The second one is in here. But yeah, right now we are in the middle of our African village. As you guys can see, here is the restaurant that we created not long ago. I think that we'll visit it a bit later. This is one of my favorite buildings that I ever built in this game. And yeah, here right away we have the Aldabra giant tortoise enclosure, and this is our reptile house of the African village that houses a lot of different African creatures, but we will go inside a bit later. But here is the Aldabra giant tortoise enclosure with a little water section, and yeah, this is how it looks. If we'll go here, there is a backstage for a lot of different enclosures that we still haven't seen, so I think that we'll go here first, because here is an entrance to the holding pen for the Nyalas, as you guys can see. So they are here and they are enjoying their time, like a bit off the side of the gas, so I remember that you could still see in here, but not so clearly. The animals definitely are not as stressed behind those bamboo like sticks and so on. But what I wanted to show you is the actual building. A lot of buildings here are very like themed, like stylized for this African theme, as you guys can see in here. So if we enter here, here is like a shelter for our Nyalas, so we have different stalls for them, and some backstage props. It is crazy that back then we didn't have all those brooms, there is this wheelbarrow, but the newer one is so much better. Yeah, it was basically before the conservation pack was out that added a lot of those things. Here's like a main viewing for the Nyala enclosure, so you can see this really lush enclosure with a water section that is in here. Sometimes they are actually swimming in here, which is so cool. And if we'll continue here, here's like an elevated viewing that is really cool. We didn't have even the fans back then, because from this place you can actually see our Nyalas, and on the other hand side, we can see the bongos. We actually have little bongos. I just love them. And yeah, this water section is like connected. I can see that being like replaceable, or if there's another animal, or I don't know, if they need more space. So yeah, here are our bongos and their enclosure. And here is another viewing opportunity if you would like to see them from here. Really cool shot actually of the whole family. I love those guys so much. I have so many questions if I am going to add them to Elm Hill City Zoo, and the answer is yes, of course. I really want to add them, so you can expect that in the future. Okay, so this is their enclosure. Very lush, very overgrown. This is something that I wanted to achieve. Maybe it's not the most realistic thing to have it like this, but yeah, this is something that I wanted to have. And we also have those rock walls in the back, and back then I was using those logs from the aquatic pack. For this, not the stalagmites as I am using right now. Okay, so here was our bongo enclosure. If we'll actually go through here, you can see the backstage for the bongos, and here is it is basically the same as for the Nyalas, the shelter. But if you are here, we can actually see the shelter of one of the enclosures that you are about to see in a second. This is the enclosure for the lemurs, the ring-tailed lemurs, and they have those like indoor cages in here that are connected, and the lemurs can actually walk through here, so this is so cool. Unfortunately, all of them are outside, but here is how the backstage for them look. We actually missed one very cool enclosure. that is in here. The guests need to take this path and go down. There is a lot of different plants for them to also see. And if they will go in here, here are the pygmy hippos and their water section. As you guys can see, if we'll change the time to see it a bit better, because I really like this enclosure because of the fact that you can see both underwater and their enclosure. I remember like this thing that I had to be very specific of with the height to actually achieve that, and it took me some time to actually be happy with the level of the water in here. Here are some signs of how to, distinguish the two hippos that are living on our planet. Unfortunately, I cannot see them. Maybe let's just go inside. Why not? So this is their enclosure with this lined water section. And they have some mud pool in here. And oh, here they are. Hello, guys. They actually have a little baby. I'm like always surprised how small the baby is from them. Like it is so tiny. Here's like a holding pen, like a backstage area for them with also a little water section. And they have this shelter all to themselves. So like a big holding pens stuff. If we'll go through here, here's like a back of the reptile house, but I also wanted to show you that here is also another shelter for animals that we are about to see. Oh, as you guys can see, they are actually able to walk into those cages as well. So those are the lemurs, the raft lemur, the black and white, and the red raft lemur that are living in the second enclosure that we are about to see in a second. Okay, let's go back through our hippo enclosure. So cute. Like they are so amazing. Okay, so this was the viewing for the hippos. Don't worry if you're a bit lost. I will make sure to do like a bird's perspective tour by the end of this one. Okay, if we are now entering like a little primate section of our African village. So this bridge just starts this section. On both hand side, we have the lemurs. So here is the black and white. This is the ringtail lemur. Sorry, they are black and white sort of, but this is the ringtail lemur. If we'll go in here, I will explain how this habitat actually works, because the keepers, as you guys can see, cannot enter it. Normally, in normal life, they will probably use like a boat, or they will have those really high rubber trousers or anything, or sometimes there's like a bridge that is very shallow that the animals don't see it from because they think it's actually not shallow, it is a deep water, but there's like a hidden path for the stuff. But in here, unfortunately, in Planet Zoo, it doesn't work like this. The workers simply cannot enter this habitat. Some of you ask me how it is possible and how they care for the habitat, how they are removing the poo from the animals. You can actually turn off the defecation of animals in the settings. So this is what I did in here. They just simply don't poop, and the workers don't have to enter here. So that is how it works. It's so cool that we are actually seeing them use all those ropes. I remember that it was actually a lot of precise work to be able to match them and do it in those angles. But yeah, so cool that we can actually see that. Yeah, on the other hand side, we have the red raft lemur, and I also added here the black and white raft lemur when it was released with the anniversary update for Planet Zoo. Right now, I actually know that they probably shouldn't be in one enclosure because they are too closely related and they can breed between each other. But back then I didn't know that. Maybe I will end up removing one of the species, but they also have like an island in here. The shelter is back there. And yeah, as you guys can see, a lot of lemurs are using the climbing frames. Okay, so if we'll continue here, here is like a little garden on both sides. Here are some signs for the primates of Africa. This is something that I found on Google. Probably I shouldn't use that, but please don't report me. Okay, here is a really cool enclosure, a bigger one, and this is for the mandrills. I'm not sure if we'll be able to actually see them because they are hanging a lot back there. This is what I noticed, but they are actually able to like walk on those rock formations. They are able to use all of those climbing frames. This enclosure, I have a really like a love-hate relationship with it. Oh, here's one. Because I loved building it. I think that this is one of my favorite enclosures of this zoo actually. But while building the next one, I unfortunately clicked something and I deleted like almost all of the rocks from this enclosure because they were in one group, and I had to rebuild all of that, which was such a pain and such a waste of time. But of course I was able to do it. It still doesn't work as good as it did when I did it the first time, but I just hate situations like that and wasting my time. So yeah, those are the mandrills, really cool monkeys that I really like. So cool to actually have them in the zoo. And yeah, if we'll continue this way, we can actually go firstly maybe to their shelter. The shelter looks really similar as the one for the from the outside. It looks really similar for like the one for the lemurs, but inside it is slightly different. In here they can actually enter their outside area, so they have this bridge that they use to enter the island. Oh, here's a male that is actually in here. So here's like a big, like a common space for them to sleep. And they actually have also those areas where they can be separated. So we have 3 different like cages for them in case of the need of like a medical training or anything like that. They can also be held in here. It's like a little food preparation station for the keepers. And this is where the keepers actually can enter to feed them. And we have the little ones. So cute. And yeah, this is how they are simply entering this. Maybe they shouldn't be jumping like this, but yeah, this is how they will go to the island. Okay, so let's see a bigger ape this time. Because just next to them we have the chimpanzees that have this really cool and big enclosure just to themselves. This is something that we'll do in the future. This area is basically finished like in 99% because I still want to do like a huge road around it for the staff, but this is something that we will talk about more in the end of this video. Okay, so this is our chimpanzee habitat that is still very inspired by the Dubai Safari Park. They also have this like huge space to themselves with a lot of grass and not like actually that many climbing frames. Some trees that they can actually climb, that is really cool. And yeah, this is just basically a really big open space that I also wanted to create for them, and we have quite a big family of them living here. The whole habitat is surrounded by the moats, and yeah, another cool thing about this habitat is that we can actually enter the chimpanzee house that is also really like African themed. And in here we have a lot of information about the chimpanzees, and here's like a closer look at their shelter. And that's not the shelter, this is the enclosure that is in here with all those grasses, and you can see them just roaming around it. Oh, it will play for us probably. Yes, I just love this enrichment item. This is so cool. Okay, so this is the enclosure with this viewing from this house, but if we'll turn around, Here's like a shelter for them and the indoor area. So if they will want to, they can always hide in here from the heat. Or maybe if the habitat is maintained, they can be held in here. And the guests will still be able to see that. I really like this water section with this like little island in here. This is something also really inspired by the Dubai Safari Park. Unfortunately, none of them are here, but they can use this like overpass that is in here to enter this area. And this is so cool because they are basically walking over the heads of our guests. Here's actually one that is like running towards the entrance. Oh, so this is oh, there was one, I missed it. So this is how it looks when they are actually inside. So cool. I really like this about this habitat. But this is not all when it comes to our chimpanzees, because if we'll go here and use this very unfinished path that you can see in here, we can go to their shelter. So this is like an off-show shelter where they could be like separated or held in case of, I don't know, diseases or maybe some medical training again. So this is how it looks. Still created when we didn't have all the backstage props. They are actually hanging in here, as you guys can see. And this is how they would just enter their habitats. And there's also like a huge area where they can be separated, like a holding pen with some climbing frames. And this is basically how it looks. Oh, so let's go back to the place where the guests would just enter and see our park. So now we can take two different routes. One is like a little botanical garden with all those plaques for different kinds of plants that we have in here. Again, something that I came up with just to fill in the space. Right now, I would probably do it totally different, but still quite a cool thing to have in your zoo if you don't know how to like fill in the space, and just do like a little plant showcase. Right? Why not? Here's like a maintenance hut or something. Again, very inspired by Dubai. I was basically rebuilding everything that I saw in there, everything that I saw on Google Maps, everything that I saw during my visits, and there was a time that I stopped enjoying it. And I think that when I actually stopped doing those habitats, very inspired by this zoo and doing, you know, different things like those little huts and stuff, I really started to enjoy this series, and some of the best habitats were created. This is not the one, I still really like it, but this is our gorilla habitat with a lot of climbing frames, with a lot of space for them, with a huge moat that you can see right now, and with a really cool fence that I actually created for the chimpanzees. But yeah, we have a male in here with a little baby, as you guys can see. And here is like in the back, there is like a huge gorilla house that you will see in a second. There is a lot of shaded structures throughout the zoo because, of course, we are again on the desert. This enclosure features this like rock formation that they can actually climb on. I saw them using it a lot of times because they have like those beddings in here, but unfortunately, they're not using it right now. So yeah, a lot of climbing frames still. Here is actually a little like drink shop. So if the guests will get thirsty, they can buy a little drink in here, sit here, enjoy it. Okay, and now if we'll enter this path, on one hand side, there's another viewing opportunity for the gorillas. So this is it. And on this hand side, we have again the island for the lemurs. So we were just back there, and here we have more lemurs. What I know right now is that zoos often tend to avoid like things like this, that you can have one viewing gallery and you can see the guests, you know, looking at the habitat from the other one. But again, this was so highly inspired by the Dubai Safari Park, and I think that they don't care much about things like this, because this was basically what I recreated from the zoo. But yeah, this is their island. I just love all those ropes, and they can actually use them, as you guys can see. Sorry, I just had to take a sip of water, but we are back and we are about to see the gorilla house that is in here. So, if the guests will enter here, this is very similar to the house for the chimpanzees, but it is slightly different. In here, we of course have a different look for the gorillas. We have also like a talking point with the education place for our guests, that the educator would just give their talk in here. We have our gorillas enjoying their time back here, and they also have this very big indoor area for themselves, with a lot of climbing frames, maybe not frames, but like rock formations where they can climb on, chill on. Some of them are actually usable for them in the game. There's even this piano that they can play on. So this looks really cool. If we'll continue this way, there's the last thing that you could see during the last trip of the zoo. That was quite a long time ago on my channel. This is actually the reptile house. So here is the outdoor enclosure for the Nile monitors, with the water section for them, and really cool. I just love those palm trees. They are so amazing. Here's the newest building that we've built in the last episode, but we'll see it in a second, because firstly I want to show you the indoor part of the reptile house. Here all the African species in here, not only reptiles, some insects as well, and amphibians. So we have, for example, the puff adder that is in here, if I remember it correctly. I cannot see it, unfortunately. Oh, here it is. So we have the puff adder. Here is the indoor area for the Nile monitor. Actually, you can see them in there, both of them. They also have a water section here, and this really cool viewing gallery that I really like. In here we have the giant snails, as you guys can see. So not too many of them actually. Here's the Goliath frog that is just next to the glass. We are so lucky. Normally it is so hard to spot those exhibit species, but in here we have all of them. Okay, I spoke too soon, because I think that there's a Goliath beetle in here, but I just cannot see it. And I think we won't waste any time looking for it, but maybe if I'll just quickly go like this. Let's pretend that it's totally normal going through the glass and walking. Oh, here it is! Oh, I missed it. Hello! So here's the Goliath beetle. We also have the scarab beetle in here. I think I've built this not long after the Africa Pack was out. It is actually out for the console players as well. So, oh, here it is. So you can also add the scarab beetle right now to your zoos. Okay, and here's the indoor part for the Aldabra giant tortoises. You could see the outdoors before, and here they have their food trough, also some heat lamps, and here's how their indoor area looks. Okay, and this is where our previous tour finished. So if you've watched this, I think at least, all of this right now will be new to you if you have watched the previous tour and haven't, for example, watched all the speedboats that we did. Okay, so I had this empty space in the middle of this plaza, and I decided to build another gift shop. And this was the last episode of this series. And the gift shop is here. So we have all the souvenirs that were added with the souvenir shop update that was out alongside the Eurasia Animal Pack. But we also have some blueprints, for example, those wonderful books by Pricey and different things. so the guests can just grab them and have a little souvenir from our zoo. I really like how it has turned out. And here's of course a queue. You can grab something and buy in here. And yeah, really cool stuff. I really like this building. Of course, here's a whole display for the shop with everything that you can buy in here. And I must admit that one of my favorite things about this are those gates. I just love how they look. I'm so glad that they came up with the idea to build them, and yeah. Okay, if we'll go in here, there's actually a thing that we missed. So this is the backstage stuff for backstage area for the gorillas. So here's like a holding part for them. And in here, they have those cages where they can sleep in. And this is also where they actually go. They enter here and they can go through here to their indoor area that is in here. So this is how it is all connected. Okay, let's go back in here. And let's see some other enclosures. If we'll go here, we can see our food truck. Again, this is something that I used to just fill in the space, but I still think it looks quite nice. The food trucks were such a cool addition to Planet Zoo. I also think that those are way too... I don't know why I added them so like low. I just need to make them higher, but maybe I'll do it later. Okay, so here's our African wild dog enclosure. The enclosure that I really like. It is very like dry, but a bit more savanna looking than the ones that we had previously. And this is where I sort of elevated my enclosures in the zoo. And from this one, I think that they look really better than the ones that we had previously. So it actually has like two viewing galleries, one in here and one in there. And here we can actually see our dogs enjoying their meal in here. They also have like a holding pen in here, and like behind this is their shelter, but we'll go there I think later, because this is like a whole backstage area for several enclosures, so I will show you it a bit later. On the other hand side, it is probably one of my favorite habitats that I ever created in this game. This is the mixed habitat for the zebras and giraffes. And this is the first time that I actually used those. Maybe not the first time, I think that I used them first for the bats in the Elm Hill City Zoo, but this is the first time that I actually made them like a main focus of the habitat, like those rock walls from the stalagmites from the Twilight Pack, and I really love how they look. The shelter is inspired by the shelter for the giraffes in Barcelona Zoo, and this was the first habitat that was actually super not inspired by Dubai. They don't even have an enclosure like this in this spot, so I went here for something totally different, and I'm so glad that I did. And in here you can actually buy the giraffe food in this dispenser. And here you have like the hours of the giraffe feeding, and if of course you are here at this time, you can enter this platform and feed the giraffes from here. And this is something that I saw in one of the zoos. So basically the keeper will stand in here, the guests cannot enter this close, and this is used for the giraffes not to scratch their necks, so you have this like protection from the ropes. And of course, we also have some shading. This is the blueprint by Leader. By the way, those sails, they are amazing. We will also go inside of this shelter later. But yeah, this is how the habitat looks. We have actually a lot of different small zebras and giraffes because they all had babies. So there's quite a lot of animals in here. And they also have like a little... water section for them to drink from. But yeah, this is how the enclosure looks. And I think that you can clearly see the difference between this enclosure and the ones that we had like recently that you saw just a second ago. Okay, but if we'll continue this way, then there are some really cool animals coming. Okay, so on the right hand side, there is the most popular enclosure or the most popular build that I ever uploaded on YouTube. This is the elephant enclosure that has over 250,000 views. So this is totally insane, like 250,000 views. I don't consider it being my best work, so this is quite interesting. Just because the elephants are quite difficult to build for because of their traversable area, you cannot put too many details in the enclosure, but I was able to create something like this. We can actually see the baby playing in the mud bath, so cool. They have a lot of different things, of course. In here they have like a little water playground in here with the mud and the water just coming out of this really cool rock formation. We also have a moat for them to prevent them from crossing in here. We have a big water section that I'm about to show you, and we have the shelter that we will see later. Okay, maybe let's see the elephants first. So yeah, this is how their enclosure looks. It is very big, and this is the water section, and one of the little ones actually is swimming here. It is really cool. It has different like entrances to the water, so I think 3 of them, and here is a big waterfall that also looks amazing. The water section is very highly inspired by Dubai. The rest is also a bit, but it was more like my creation, especially like all the backstage back there, and maybe the fence. I don't really remember, but yeah, this was also a lot of work, and I'm so glad that you guys liked it so much. Okay, if we'll go here. And we actually are under really cool like shading structures for the guests. But if we'll go here, here's another enclosure that we sort of missed. This is the enclosure for the spotted hyenas. So we have them in here. Actually, we can see one in the back. Going probably inside of the shelter. Yes, that we will see later. My favorite thing about this enclosure is definitely this exposed ground in here with the roots. Looks really cool, and yeah, it's not so big, but I think the size makes perfect sense for like 3 hyenas. This viewing gallery is also really cool. I remember that it took a lot of time to make, but I really like it. And here's another view, like there's a moat so they cannot escape. And this is their like more overgrown enclosure where they can hide in the bushes or in the grasses. But yeah, they have the entire shelter back there that we are about to see. On the other hand side, here we have the warthogs, one of the more recent enclosures that I created for the zoo. Maybe we'll just change the light a bit. No, we are not able. Have you seen this jump? So yeah, here are the warthogs. They have this really muddy enclosure with a water section in front, surrounded by the rocks, as you guys can see, and also they have the whole like holding area and the shelter back there. Here's like a little like a den or something. They like those things. They actually chill in those. So I really wanted to add something like this for them. The Dubai doesn't have warthogs, so this is totally something that I came up with myself. Okay, so if we'll continue here, here's another enclosure that I really like. This is the enclosure for the cheetahs. And we actually have a king cheetah in here somewhere. This very unique color of the cheetah, but I cannot see them in here. They have this like pretty grassy enclosure with those pacing trails that they can use and walk around the enclosure. They also have this entire like holding area and the shelter back there, so maybe they're sleeping or something, so we will see them later. Okay, so let's not waste time looking for the cheetahs, because on the other hand side, we have the aardvarks, and they are actually here. So those are the animals that we can see. So the aardvarks have this very dry and rocky enclosure with not too high of a fence. They don't need very high fence, with a nice terrain change that I like. And there's their shelter in the back. And this is how the enclosure looks. It is round, and this is something that I really like about this, because I think that the shape is really interesting. Okay, so those are the aardvarks. And here we have like an African cat cave, and here we can have another view, like a closer view for the cheetahs. Unfortunately, again, they're nowhere to be found, but this is so typical right for zoos. Go to just see your favorite animal, and it is nowhere to be found. And there's some information about cheetahs, about Africa in general. And on the other hand side, we actually have the king of the jungle, or the queen, or the little princesses and prince of the jungle. Those are the lions. We have some cubs, and we have a lioness, and there's probably a male somewhere in here. Very similar. Oh, here's a male. We are so lucky we can see the entire family. So this enclosure is sort of similar to the one for the cheetah. It has more of the rocks for the lions to climb on, and it has a huge backstage area that we are about to see later. So if we'll go in here, we can actually see more of this enclosure. And just here, again, it has a moat with water. And yeah, there's this huge backstage area in there. And in here you can see the lions just enjoying their enclosure. Here's a male. Okay, if we'll turn around, there is my favorite enclosure of the entire zoo, but we are about to see it in a second. And here is like a toilet. I just thought that, we didn't have a toilet in this part of the park, and the guests will probably need it. I used so many blueprints by Shift Scene here, he released this whole toilet prop pack or anything, so I use those things in here, but the rest is simply my creation. And here is my, as I told you, my favorite habitat out of the entire zoo. The huge savanna habitat for mixed species of different African ungulates and also ostrich. We have the wildebeest in here, we have the Thompson's gazelle, we also have the Nile lech whale, the sable antelope, and I think that this is all. I hope that I am not missing anyone, but quite a lot of different species and quite a lot of space for them. We can actually see the ostrich, but we'll also see this whole backstage in the middle in the second. In here they have those chilling spots where they can rest from the sun, and also some custom feeders. But yeah, the whole enclosure is huge, and we are about to see all of it around. So maybe we'll spot more animals. I don't remember which one I actually added here, but I think that I said all of them. Okay, here's like an outpost that we can enter. Yes, I mentioned all of them. Great. Okay, here's a closer view. They have the water area in here to sort of lure them closer so the guests can see them. Yeah, unfortunately, with those more detailed enclosures, you often have those crazy jumps. The animals are just simply trying to jump over all the details, not to walk around them. So yeah, here is the enclosure. It is very big. It was so much work, but I simply love it so much. This is probably in my like top 3 enclosures that I ever created in Planet Zoo. I'm so proud of myself that I was able to just do it, because it was so much work and so much time to build this. Okay, but if we'll just exit this outpost, on the other hand side is the white rhino habitat. We have two white rhinos in here and their baby, I think. Here's their shelter that we are about to see also in the second. They also are, there's like a moat or like a wall in the front of this habitat. It is not maybe humongous, but I think that this is something comparable to the sizes of the rhino habitats that I saw in some zoos. I really like the fence that I used in here. And yeah, here's how it just simply looks. We are just passing through this, continuing next to this huge savanna habitat all of the time to go and see a little cute meerkat, one of my favorites when it comes to animal species in this game. Here's their enclosure. I wanted to give them a lot of opportunities just to climb on and to observe their environment, because this is what they do. There's constantly on guards, looking at the entire family if they are okay. You can see actually the baby meerkats in here and an adult one. And here's also their like shelter, the indoor area that they can enter. Unfortunately, they cannot use those little climbing frames that were inspired, I think, by Warsaw Zoo. I saw that they had this playground for the meerkats and they were actually climbing it, using it. So I decided to build something impolite for them like this. And this is their little enclosure. So we can actually enter right now the backstage areas for some of the animals that we saw. This is like a backstage secret area for example, the wild dogs that we can see in here. So this is like a holding pen, and here is the shelter. So we need to enter here, and here is the wild dog shelter with 3 different like cages, some food preparation stations and stuff. I knew that I will eventually end up on some roof, but it was quite a long time that this happened, so it is not so bad. Okay, so they enter through here to those cages that they have in here, and they can also go through there to the holding pen. And yeah, this is how the shelter looks. On the other side, there's a shelter for the hyenas that is really similar, works very similar. I think that this is basically the same one, just, you know, adjusted to the size of the hyenas. And in here we also have 2 additional shelters, one for the rhinos in here with a little holding area. We can enter here, and there's actually 2 stalls for them, big ones, so they can simply move here with some water troughs and some feeders and stuff. This is how it looks. And in there we have a shelter for the aardvarks that looks like this, a little one with some stalls for them to sleep in. Okay, we can actually now go back. Maybe I'll just take a little shortcut in here and go to one of my favorite buildings that I ever did, as I told you in this game, to the restaurant. So we have to continue through the main plaza of the African village. Here is another toilet that I just copied from there, but I also thought that we need a toilet in here. And here we have the restaurant. It is so cool. I just love how it has turned out. Again, it took me so much time, but I think it was so worth it. So here we would simply order our food. You have like a specific menu in here, and also some things that are typical for Africa. So for example, the yellow fries. You have a display of some cakes and different things. You can also buy Macs in here. You can order coffee. Here's like a pickup in here. You can grab your tray and go to the table. And after you eat, you can simply throw the leftovers in here and leave the tray in there. The whole restaurant is very like African themed, but it's also very modern. I wanted to just mix those two things in here. Have a lot of different tables, chairs, booths for the guests to sit in, some decorations like this, also some African theming, of course, like in the lamps and those things. Here's a toilet in here for the guests, and some plants. I also love how this decor on the walls look. Really cool, and the guests have also the opportunity to eat outside, so there's a lot of tables in here, some custom ones, some that are actually usable, so that this terrace is quite big. I know that some of you said that it would be unbearable to sit here and eat because of the smell, but this is something that this zoo in Dubai actually had as well. It looked totally different, but and they also had a seating area just next to the enclosure. I just hope that the smells won't get too bad, but yeah, this is how this looks. So let's now go through here because I want to show you all the remaining backstage areas. If you exit the African village in here, there's also another viewing for the huge savanna habitat with another outpost that is in here, and we can enter it to see the ostrich, the wildebeest, and the sable antelope. Okay, and there's another viewing for the flamingos, and if we'll continue it this way, we can again see some sneak peeks of the huge savanna habitat that is in here. And in here we can actually enter the backstage area for the savanna habitat, and the backstage is equally big as the habitat. So we have the holding pens, we have the shelters with a lot of stalls. I designed this to be like divided for different species. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like this. In Planet Zoo, they would just enter randomly. But I thought that this would, for example, be for the Thompson's gazelles, this one for the wildebeest, I think, like this side. We can also have something for the Nile lechwe, and there's another building for just ostriches. But yeah, there's a lot of things to have a look at. For example, those food troughs, like water troughs. Oh, we actually have some babies already in here. So cool. Some, food preparation stations, like sinks. Here's another building with another backstage props. And here is like a building. I thought about this as a building for the ostriches, and actually the ostriches here. I think that this is basically because they are not able to fit through the doors to those buildings, so they only can use this one. But yeah, that was meant to be for the ostriches, and this is the holding area. Actually, have the babies in here, and all the holding areas for other animals. Here is another view opportunity for the lions. We actually can see two of them in here. This path will be used for by the guests to just simply walk from one village to another. So they will just, you know, simply follow this path and they can get this really cool view for the lions. And here's the whole backstage area for the lions actually. So we have like a walkway for them and those like holding pens next to the stalls or the cages where they would spend the night. We can actually see the family of the lions in here. Here's all the backstage, and here we can actually see the transporting cage, and here's the shelter with a lot of stuff for the keepers, like the, again, food preparation, sinks, all the boxes, everything. And here are those big cages for the lions to sleep in, something inspired by things that I was able to find online. For example, those airlocks, we have those numbers, those like elevated sleeping platforms for them, and also those things filled with, like, I don't know, a bit sunken down, filled with hay for them to sleep in. So yeah, this is basically the backstage for the lions. If we'll continue this way, you will see all the different buildings. So this is the one for the cheetahs with all the holding pens. And here are the cages. Cheetahs are not in here. I have no idea where they are. Yes, there's one. And there's a king cheetah. Hello. What a beauty. So this is how it looks. And if we'll continue here through this very unfinished path, here's a shelter for the warthogs. Again, this happens, of course. Let's try to enter once more. Nope. Maybe I'll try to crouch a bit. Yes. So here are the stalls for them. And so they can enter here and sleep if they want to. Okay, and if we'll continue this way, you'll see all the remaining ones. If I am not lost in the bushes. Maybe let's just do it like this. Those are the big holding pens for the lions. Come on. So many African animals that I am getting confused. Those are the elephants, of course. So this is the like a elevated feeder for them. This is the other holding pen. A lot of backstage props in here. I just thought that they need a lot. And yeah, if we'll enter in here, here are those big like stalls for them to sleep in. Again, inspired by something that I found online. We have quite a lot of them in here. We also have like a separated food preparation station for them. And yeah, this is basically how the shelter looks. Very plain, but this is something that I saw mainly done for the elephants. Okay, and if we'll go there, there's my favorite of all when it comes to the shelters I think that I ever created. I actually really like this fence. I think that I need to use this design more often because it looks so awesome. Here's like a backstage holding pen for the giraffes and the zebras. They can be also separated. One can be used for zebras, one can be used for the giraffes. Those are those automatic opening doors. And if we enter the shelter through here, it actually has 2 floors. The first floor, ground floor, is where we can enter all of the stalls for them. We have bigger ones for the giraffes and smaller ones for the zebras. Here's some hay storage and stuff like this. But this shelter also has a second floor where we can enter this like elevated platform where the giraffes can be fed, or for example, they can be some health checkups or anything. This is something very inspired by Barcelona Zoo, and just love it so much. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've saw everything already. Let me just fly out like this. So yeah, this is our African section, African village of the zoo, the finished one. What I also want to do is just do like a path around this that will just simply connect all of the backstage areas. But I think that I will do it after the whole zoo is finished, because we'll do it like around all the villages. And also, of course, I need to do like a fence around the whole zoo. So this is also something that I have in mind. But yeah, just to go quickly through all the habitats that we saw, this is the flamingos, here are the nyalas, bongos, pygmy hippos, the lemur islands, this is the mandrills, those are the chimpanzees, gorillas, the reptile house, the meerkats, the rhinos, the wild dogs, the giraffes and the zebras. Here are the elephants, the warhogs, the hyenas, the aardvarks, this is the cheetah, this is the lion, and this is the huge habitat for the different ungulates and ostriches. This is like a big savanna habitat. So yeah, this is our whole African village done. When it comes to the plans for this series, of course, as I told you, I want to add more villages. The African village has been actually the biggest one that we created. It is huge, I think, compared to the ones that we will build in the future. We will have for sure the Australian village, we'll have the Asian village, we'll have the American village, and we will have the desert village. And the desert village is what the whole adventure aspect of the zoo will be, because it will be very highly focused around the desert safari that I will create. So we'll have like a safari ride that will go through the dunes of the desert, and there will be some animals in there. And I think that I'll build the desert village in here. Please don't look at those things. Those are the outlines of the different sections that I wanted to build for the zoo, but I already know that they will be way smaller. So I think that I will do the desert one in here, and next to it will be the American one. Then we'll have the Asian and the small like Australian section. In the middle we'll have just like a restaurant slash botanical garden, like a maybe also like a water section, something just for the guests to chill in and to enjoy the nature. And like around it there will be different villages. And right now I want to build the adventure. So we will focus on the desert village, and we'll add a lot of desert animals that are typically associated with deserts. And I'll go for the totally different style of the architecture. Every of those villages will be very highly themed. This was very African with a lot of fudge, round buildings and stuff like this. And different villages will have different styles. And as I told you guys, they won't be as big as this one. So it should take me like not as long to finish all of those. The desert village I think will be very easy to finish, because building like a safari doesn't require me to build like paths for the guests, like viewing galleries and stuff, and this stuff always takes a lot of time. So we'll have some regular enclosures in there, like in there next to the main plaza of the village, and then we'll have like a tour ride for our guests, and then we'll focus, I think, on the Australian one or on the American one. We will see. The American one, I think I will do like an America, so it will be like a mix of the North American and the South American animals. And this is basically it. If you have any suggestions on what species you would like to see, or different, I don't know, ideas for this series, definitely drop them down in the comments. Tell me what has been your favorite enclosure in this zoo. I am really curious about this. Tell me if you like it in general, if you enjoyed the tour, if you enjoyed the building of the whole African section. I'm so happy and excited that it is actually finished, and I think it looks better than I ever expected. So really happy about this. And yeah, now it is time to focus on something new. Now it is time to focus on different kind of architecture and different kind of animals. And also a bit more on the Elm Hill City Zoo right now, I think. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please consider to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video like this. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And of course, leave me a nice comment. Tell me what you think about the video. Tell me what you think about the finished African section of the Desert Adventure Park. If you'd like to support the channel a little bit extra, you can do it with the join button down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!